do not want to miss. You do not want to miss the Party Line hour here on News Radio 1020 KDKA. One of the best musicians to ever come out of the city of Pittsburgh is back on the scene. He's going to tell us where he's been for the last 3 or 4 years, and you are going to help me welcome him back. 866-391-1020, Dollar Bank Instant Access at kdkradio.com. You're listening to the voice of Pittsburgh, News Radio 1020 KDKA.
News Radio 1020 KDKA, Johnna Pro.
All right, I have a special treat for you because I have an amazing musician in the studio. I think we have a little sampling of his music, don't we, Corey? I think we do. If you like jazz, if you like the blues, I am pleased to announce the incomparable Tony Janflone Jr. returns to the Pittsburgh stage tomorrow night. He is here with me in the studio. Tony Janflone, welcome to KDKA.
Hi, Johnna.
It's fantastic to have you here.
It's great to be here, and it's great to see you again. It's been a while.
It's been a long time. Before I let Tony tell his story, I have to tell you that I met Tony. It was probably back in the early 90s when my colleague Kathy and I were in charge of the Christmas party for the Newspaper Guild of Pittsburgh. Now, you have to remember, this was back in the day. It was a huge Christmas party. We had a rather substantial budget. It was a major dress-up, best hotels in town kind of a party. It was a big deal, 250, 300 people. And before Kathy and I took over, it was kind of one of those parties that had all the right elements, but it just didn't click. And so Kathy and I took it over, and we were trying to make it better and better. And she called me one night, and she said, I have a musician for us for the Christmas party. And I said, well, who? And she said, it doesn't matter who it is, but I have a musician for us, and he's the best. And I said, well, who is it, and how much is he? She said, I'm not telling you who it is, and we can't afford him. But it doesn't matter. She said, you have to go hear him. Well, all I needed to hear was we can't afford him. But that's okay. I went to, I'll never forget it, it was a Sunday evening. I went to the Holiday Inn in Oakland. I walked through the door. I heard 3 or 4 chords. I saw the cutest boy I had ever seen singing the most amazing music, Tony Janflone, and he became the official musician of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette Christmas party for several years. Huh. We had
a great time.
We had a great time. But for folks who don't know you, Tony, and I know there are a lot of folks who do know you, and they may recognize the name Tony Janflone, because you got into music here in Western Pennsylvania as a young person and following in your father's footsteps, who was pretty renowned, correct?
Very much so. Yep.
Tell me a little bit about your dad.
My dad is super cool. My dad is he's a professional musician. I grew up in a household that was really great to grow up in. He was a freelance musician, but he played a lot at the Holiday House in Monroeville. And when I was a kid, I would go to shows with him. My brother and I would go and sit on the side of the stage and watch him do his thing with these various artists. And
for I know a lot of folks remember the Holiday House, but people such as me, I do remember it. I'm old enough. That's back in the day when the supper clubs were big, right? So when you say your dad was playing at the Holiday House, he could be playing with, give me some examples.
Well, he played with Frank Gorshin, who used to be the Riddler on Batman.
Right.
And I saw him play with Tony Martin and Sid Charisse when I was a kid. So
that's amazing.
It was pretty cool, yeah. Right. He played with Johnny Fontaine from The Godfather. What's his name? I mean, just tons of people. No, not Buddy Hackett. Was it, darn it, Buddy
Epson.
No, guy with the frizzy hair.
I don't know.
Frizzy hair, Marty Allen.
Okay.
Marty Allen, that's who it is. Yeah. So he did a bunch of stuff, and it was really cool with the Supremes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, when I was a kid, we had the whole Supremes band minus Diana Ross. Everybody else was at our house.
That's amazing. What,
So,
having dinner or what?
Having dinner, yes, yes. So,
what did Mama Janflone make?
It was. I don't remember, but it was great. It was really great.
So you sort of, your love of music came. It's in your blood.
It is.
And you started playing as a young person. And tell me a little bit about your experience here in Pittsburgh, because a lot of folks here know you from places like the Holiday Inn, from different places down on the South Side. I mean, you were a regular part of Sunday for many people.
Yeah. The South Side was just such a special place for me in particular. I did a place called the Blues Cafe. It used to be called the Blue Note. Then I think there was a legal thing going on because there's the Blue Note, you know, the major club in New York. But ended up being the Blues Cafe, 19th and Carson Street. Did it for many, many years. I mean, I think I played that club in one form or another on one day or another for close to 18 years solid, like once a week. Mm-hmm. So we used to do Saturday afternoons, but it was kind of tough for me because I had to do double headers every Saturday, and it was kind of brutal. So I went to the owner at the time, Pete Galamas, who's a great guy. They're like family. That I worked with them or for them for so long, they became like family. So I went to him and I said, "Hey, look, I got to stop doing Saturdays because it's just killing me. I have no voice left by the time I go to my second show." Because it was smoky. If you've been there, you remember how smoky it was.
And I smoke, so yeah.
So it was really probably the smokiest place I've ever played, and so he gave me Sundays. He said, "Let's try it." And it ended up being just a great day. And I did 11 years, I think, of Sundays. And it was just tremendous. And we did it until the club changed hands. We moved it down the street to the Carson City Saloon, which is 5 blocks away, 14th and Carson. And I did that for about 8 months. And then I was in an auto accident. And that changed my life pretty drastically for a while. So
my guest, if you're just joining us, is Tony Janflone Jr., one of Pittsburgh's most outstanding musicians. If you'd like to join the conversation, 866-391-1020, Dollar Bank Instant Access at KDKARadio.com. We're going to take a little break, but when we get back, Tony is going to tell us a little bit about his car accident and why we haven't seen or heard from him on the Pittsburgh scene in the last 4 years. He returns to the stage at the Carson City Saloon tomorrow night at 5:45, but he's here with us tonight, and he'll take your calls, 866-391-1020, Dollar Bank Instant Access at KDKARadio.com. You're listening to the voice of Pittsburgh News Radio, 1020 KDKA. Man, my hips are moving now. It's a little Tony Janflone Jr. He's actually in the studio. Tony built a fabulous reputation here in Pittsburgh and across this country, quite frankly, as one of our great jazz musicians. He's played with the best of the best, including Gladys Knight, Peabo Bryson, Debbie Reynolds. Is she still alive?
she is. She is. She was very alive, actually. She
was lively, huh?
Yeah.
And Tony, before you talk a little bit about what happened to you, you had a very successful career as a musician working here in Pittsburgh.
I was very blessed. I worked every year, well, at the top of things. When music, you could still play 5-6 nights a week. There were years where I did 300 plus shows a year. But I actually was down to about 200 shows a year. And still doing that when I had the accident.
But for folks who think you had to go to New York or Chicago or L.A., you never found that to be true. You created a very vibrant career for yourself right here based in Pittsburgh.
I was very blessed to be able to do that, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the music scene here, Tony, because we talked about it a little bit last year when I first started. By the way, this is the first show of my second year here at KDKA. I celebrated my anniversary on Thursday.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. But last year I had Bernadette DeVault on, Larry Solaski, and a couple of other folks who talked about sort of the heyday. You know, you couldn't spit in Pittsburgh and not hit a musician playing live music somewhere.
You could still hit them. They're just in a different place.
But live music is really, you used to be able to, wander up to the Shiloh and stroll over to the Lamont or take a little trip down to the South Side. And no matter where you went, there was live music. That seems to have gone away.
It's changed a lot. I think it's a combination of, like we were talking about earlier, off of the radio. There's some laws that have been put into place with the drinking and smoking and all that sort of things, and I think that's probably hurt the business some. My opinion is that the computer has hurt a lot of businesses. It's hurt musicians. It's helped musicians in ways like, for instance, I've gotten some exposure in other countries because of the internet. That being said, I found my albums for free download in various places too. So that's the bad part of it. And also, I think people are entertained at home a lot now. I love going to the movie theaters, but I don't think they're going to stay open much longer at the rate they're going because everything's at home. People are on the internet. You can have those Netflix movies streamed right to your TV.
Right.
You have the internet itself. There are people that still want to go out and hear live music, thankfully. So we're counting on that because
you're returning to the stage.
That's right.
Where tomorrow night? The Carson City Saloon, correct?
That's right.
Carson City Saloon at 5:45 tomorrow night. But you disappeared about 4.5 years ago.
I did.
Tell us a little bit about you had a car accident. As I
had an auto accident and I was rear-ended. And when I got hit,
Where were you?
I was off of Route 51 it was kind of a bad merge. There's Large Hill. You know where Large Hill is?
Absolutely.
All right. So people kind of make a running start to get out onto Large Hill, and my wife and I were stopped, and there was a young gentleman that thought we had left, but we hadn't, and he was making the run to get on to the Route 51 and hit us. And it happened to be, for me, since I was merging, I was looking, I had my head turned as far left as you pretty much can go, because you're kind of, that it's kind of tough to see. So I'm looking at the mirror and I'm craning my head, all the way back into the left, and that's when I got hit. And so I ended up with a concussion, and then I had 3 discs that were injured, and it made performing really just no fun for me at all. And I ended up finishing shows that I had, but I had to tell the guys in the band I wanted to give them enough time to find other work, because we were full-time musicians. So we were still playing 200 shows a year or so. So I had to finish up
in this region?
just in the Pittsburgh area, the tri-state area. So we would travel occasionally, but really it was all tri-state area stuff. So I finished up the shows that we had, and I played my last gig on New Year's Eve of 2007, and then I went and tried to recover and did physical therapy and all kinds of other stuff, and taught. I taught privately, and I'll admit I got really depressed for quite a while, because I had been a person since I was 13 years old, always out playing for people, and so I didn't do any shows at all for over... it was getting close to 3 years. It was probably a good 2.5. And I had friends from Ohio that I work with occasionally that called me on several shows. And thank God that they did, because they actually brought me out of a funk. I went and did some shows, and they were rough because my neck is still a problem to this day. But then it was worse than it is now. And but I was glad I went and did it, because it sort of brought me out of a funk. Because... it was a little dark for me for a while there.
No, I can imagine.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So, hey, let's, we're going to continue our conversation with Tony, but I want to go to the phone lines because Renee has been waiting a very long time. Renee, thanks for your patience. You're on with Tony Janflone.
Hi, Tone.
It's Renee in Penn Hills.
This is Renee.
I can't wait. Oh, my God, I can't wait to see you, honey.
Oh, I can't wait to see you. Now, I remember Renee. She used to work at the Harley Hotel. Do you remember the Harley Hotel in Penn Hills?
I do remember the Harley Hotel.
She worked there, and I was playing in the lounge. And then she used to come. We used to play this club called Ford Saloon up in Penn Hills. So Renee's great. She's great.
All right. Hey, Renee.
I really love hearing your voice right now. I mean, just seeing you on Facebook isn't enough for me, so I can't wait.
It'll be my pleasure to see you. Trust me.
All right. Let's go to in Columbus. Hey, Sylvia. How are you?
Hello there. I'm fine, thank you.
Oh, no, Sylvia.
Antonio.
So Sylvia,
yes.
Johnna, she's from your stomping grounds, I believe, because you were a Mon Valley girl, right?
Well, close to Brownsville, Pennsylvania.
Oh, Brownsville, okay.
Where, yes. Sylvia, my mother was from Newell.
Oh, my gosh, you're kidding.
No, where are you from?
Well, around Brownsville, actually a little town called Merrittstown, Pennsylvania.
I know it very well. You know, my mother was the Jewel from Newell.
Oh, my gosh. I remember that. Oh, see?
Oh, that's
Small
awesome.
world, see?
So you heard Tony out in Columbus, Sylvia.
I have heard him in Columbus, and I just want to wish him a very triumphant and wonderful return to Pittsburgh.
You know, Sylvia is so cool. She's such a great person, and we share something. We share a great bond, and I'll tell you what it is. We are both huge Gino Vanelli fans. Okay, I'm going to admit that. I think he's just a fabulous musician, and so Sylvia, she's related to a very fine singer who just moved back to town here. Her name's Lisa Hindmarsh.
My niece, yeah.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
So, in fact, my dad used to play with her dad, Barry Hindmarsh, years ago.
Wow.
So so I get to Columbus, and who's there? Sylvia's there, and then I find out she's a Gino Vanelli fan, and it's all good.
Yeah, 2 of us here in Columbus. That was it.
That's about it.
Well, listen, Sylvia, thanks for calling in tonight. I hope that you'll listen to my show every Saturday night on News Radio 1020 KDKA. Let's go to Mackenzie in Washington. Hey, Mackenzie, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. You're on with Tony Janflone. I think this is your old neighbor, Tony.
I think it is. I think it's my old neighbor.
How are you, Mr. Janflone?
I am okay. You stop calling me Mr. Janflone. I think you used to call me Tony when we lived over there.
I used to, not anymore.
I allow you to call me Tony. So
I just want to tell you, Tony, I'm so excited for you and Kay to be back, and I can't wait to come out and hear you.
Well, I appreciate that, and we're glad to be back, and we're going to have to come down and visit the old stomping grounds there.
Yes, please do. We miss you.
Cool.
Right.
Miss you too.
Hey, Mackenzie, thanks for listening in. I appreciate it. Hey, Tony, no, you're going to open tomorrow night at the Carson Street.
Carson City Saloon.
Carson City Saloon. First time back on a Sunday in several years, obviously. Are you concerned about not only rebuilding your own following here in Pittsburgh, but are you concerned that live music has sort of gone by the wayside in Pittsburgh, or do you sense it can make a resurgence?
I mean, it's always a concern. It's all. I mean, hey, what do I know? I haven't played here in 4.5 years, so I'm trusting that people are going to come out and praying that they will, And as far as the scene goes, there's a bunch of great musicians here, a bunch of them. So I think that music's always going to be around, and I think that it can, we can make it happen. I'm not sure it's ever going to be like it was, 6 nights a week, that sort of thing. I just think the world has changed a great deal since those days were happening. So. Okay,
my guest tonight is Tony Janflone Jr., amazing musician out of Pittsburgh, had a terrible car accident. He's been off the scene for the last 3 or 4 years, but he is back. He is performing tomorrow night at the Carson City Saloon. He's in the studio with me now. If you'd like to have a conversation with Tony, 866-391-1020, Dollar Bank Instant Access at KDKARadio.com. After the news, we're going to ask Tony about what he's been working on musically. He just mentioned that there are some great musicians in Pittsburgh, so we'll talk a little bit about the talent that's here. You're listening to the voice of Pittsburgh News Radio, 1020 KDKA.
We all have.
Tony Janflone music to take us to the 9 o'clock hour. Tony is in the studio. If you'd like to join the conversation, 866-391-1020, Dollar Bank Instant Access at KDKRadio.com. Don't forget you can join me, Johnna Pro, on Facebook.
From the Lexus of North Hill Studios, this is the voice of Pittsburgh News on KDKA. Now, Johnna Pro on News Radio 1020 KDKA.
Usually I make Corey dig back into the archives for what he likes to call old people music. He laughs at me. When I tell Corey to get out some old music, he'll pull out something from the 90s. This is a little jazz from Tony Janflone. Tony is in the studio with me tonight. Hey, Tony, tell me a little bit about what kind of music are you working on now? And has your music changed since your car accident, since you've been away?
Well, I would say it's always changing. But I'm sort of an eclectic sort of musician. So I grew up in a household where my dad's favorite music was basically jazz and old R&B stuff, that sort of thing. You know, so I heard that, but then I had the influences I had. So I'm kind of a mishmash of jazz, rock, blues, funk, soul stuff. You know, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, I had started on a new CD before the accident happened. I had probably 40% of it done, and then that got, you know, there was a halt put to that. So I'm probably going to dig back into that stuff and finish it up. And my product for my other CDs, it's been out of print. Mm-hmm. And because of the accident, I sold out of all my stuff and then didn't have the funds to, you know, reprint it. Mm-hmm. So,
I have one, though. I know I do.
It was funny. I had a friend of mine who's from Tennessee, and he called me one day and he said, he said, "Buddy, your live CD is selling for $200 on eBay." He said, "I looked, and Elvis and Eric Clapton, they aren't selling CDs for $200. And I said, "Well, let me know if one sells for that." But I did have a woman who bought one for $100. She let me know that, and it was used. So that means she paid $100, and I got.
You got nothing
Zero.
out of it. You got nothing and got ripped off. Yeah. So, but let's pick up where we left off, because after the accident, you were feeling depressed, and your friends in Columbus got you sort of to play again. But what brought you back to Pittsburgh? Because I got the phone lines are lighting up. Folks want to talk to you, and I want to go to the phones. But you know what brought you and your lovely wife? You got to give your little lovely wife a shout out.
My lovely wife is lovely, and she's very, very cool and very kind, and I'm very blessed to have her as a wife, because she's.
You want to tell people her name?
Her name's Kay, like the cereal Special K. You know, so, what brought us back to Pittsburgh basically is family and friends, and actually Pittsburgh itself, because there's no place like it. There really isn't. I mean, we went to Florida to get into better weather, because the cold weather is not necessarily my friend with my neck condition the way it is, but my wife didn't like it so much there, and I honestly missed a lot of things. I probably shouldn't say this, but we wanted to watch Steeler games, and I couldn't get them. I could not get them. So one of my friends said, "Hey, go to this internet website, and if you hook your computer up to the TV, you can watch Steeler games." So I was like, "Great!" So I got on this thing, and it was this site, and I'm like, "Where's this coming from? I don't know." And then all of a sudden, one day I go, and there's a big federal government emblem saying that the website had been shut down.
Oh, my God.
So my Steeler games were out the window. So it wasn't like I was pirating Steeler games, but believe me, we were so happy to see a Steeler game.
Good. Yeah. And hey, you know what? You can, like I said, as we were talking off the air, I mean, you've obviously had a wonderful career as a musician here in Pittsburgh. You know, you can always fly to Florida for a couple of weeks if it gets too cold.
You know what? That is true, and I met some incredible people, and I met people there and in Columbus, Ohio, that'll be lifelong friends, and I'm very thankful. And I believe that you come into contact with people that you meet in life, and there's a definite reason. And things happen, there's a purpose to all that stuff. So
let's go to the phones, because Beth has been waiting patiently in Bridgeville. Hey, Beth, welcome to KDKA. You're on with Tony Janflone.
Thank you. Hey, Tony.
Hi, Beth. I know who this is. This is.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
Great.
I am good.
Great. We're looking forward to seeing you. I hope I see you tomorrow.
Oh, gosh. We're hoping to get down there, but we don't know if there's something going on with Noah Scouts yet or not.
Oh, okay.
But he's heading to Eagle Scout. Okay.
Well, Scouts always take precedent over that stuff. So.
Well, I don't know about that.
No. Hey, I was almost a Boy Scout. I do.
Hey, Beth, thanks for your phone call. Forgive me for snickering, but I knew you back in the day. Hey, let me just tell this story. Let me just tell this story before I go to, because I know I got Sean and Billy and Victor, and I got.
Tell me the story first.
You have a note. You have a note from Dollar Bank. No, I can tell you that the worst night of my life occurred because of you, Tony Janflone.
No, great to hear.
The worst night of my life occurred because of Tony Janflone. Because, as I said, my partner at the Post-Gazette, Kathy, who helped me find Tony and become friends with Tony, Kathy calls me one day and she says, "Hey, Tony's going to be down on the Gateway Clipper making a commercial for the Gateway Clipper.
Yeah.
And he needs people to come be in the commercial, right? So the reason Kathy and I are good friends is because we like to do things, and we'll try just about anything. And so we're thinking, how bad can this be? Okay, there's going to be cocktails, there's going to be food, and we're going to be in a commercial for Tony, and we're going to listen to him play his music, right? There was only one problem. I know you're going to know what this is. For 3 solid hours, we sailed up the river and down the river and up the river and down the river.
This is what you do.
And we didn't hear any Tony Janflone music. All we heard was the refrain for the commercial.
Over and over and over.
On the Gateway Clipper cruise.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If you didn't sing it once that night, you must have sang it 30 times.
It was many, many times. In fact, actually, that's one of those things that sticks in your head like glue. So I still hear that song.
Can you still sing that? Come on, sing the line.
No.
Come on, sing the line.
I actually did 2 commercials for them. One was There's Magic in the Air on the Water, and the other one was, what was that one?
On the Gateway Clipper cruise.
It didn't sound like that.
But, yes, it did. Yeah, you know what? 30 times and 10 vodkas later, yes, it did.
Hey, but it was fun.
No, it wasn't.
Well, it was long.
It was long.
But were you on any of the other cruises? I am doing one.
I wouldn't go on any.
Oh, you have to come to one. We're doing one October 20th.
No,
it's not a commercial. It's not a commercial. We're playing music on this one.
No.
It's a real cruise.
I will never get on one of those boats ever again.
You have to.
Yeah.
It's the most fun you're ever going to have out on that river. I'm telling you right now.
Let's go to Sean in Claysville. Hey, Sean, welcome to KDKA.
Hey there, how's it going?
Fantastic. You're on with Tony.
Sean in Claysville.
Hey,
this guy, I know this guy, and I'm going to tell you what a great guy this guy is. This guy helped me move from Florida. He flew down and helped me move from Florida. So this guy, Sean, is a great guy.
We've had many miles together.
Yes, sir.
You're a good friend. Thanks for calling in. You're going to go to the show tomorrow night, Sean.
Yep, it'll be my first one.
All right.
How about
Outstanding. Want to go to Billy in Green Tree. Hey, Billy, how are you?
I'm doing great.
I know this voice. This is Billy Nardozzi, the Pittsburgh poet.
Is that Billy Nardozzi?
It's Billy Nardozzi.
Hey,
Hi, Johnna.
How are you, my friend?
Fine.
What's going on? You have a little poem for us tonight.
Well, I...
Hey, Billy, wait, are you on a cell phone? Because you are really crackling up, my friend.
No, I'm not. I'm on a regular old-time phone.
Oh, my. A little staticky.
Yeah,
but anyway, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yes, hey, Tony.
Billy.
I called to... Johnna, I met Tony the first... I heard of him from years ago. So I'm watching WQED Christmas show last year. And I said, oh, there's Tony Janflone. And I was blown away. I said, oh, is this guy great? And he had a great personality, saying hello to everybody. I said, and he's a nice guy to boot. You know, I went in and I wrote a poem about him. I said, I got to do this. And it didn't take long because it was so special. And I mailed it to Tony, right, Tony?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Hey,
Billy,
I'm going to let Tony tell his story, but I'm going to have to hang on you because something's wrong with your phone. I got really bad static, but just keep listening.
Sorry.
Keep listening on the radio. Thanks
I
for
love
calling.
you, Billy. You're great.
So anyway, tell us.
So Billy Nardozzi, right? So, you know, I was in Columbus, Ohio, and I was there, and I knew that I needed to get back to Pittsburgh. I had this, you know, I was there for a little while, and it was because of my friends that had gotten me. They're the ones that got me back out playing again. So they said, when you get up here from Florida, come to Columbus and stay here for a while and see how you like it. And then I realized that I needed to be back in Pittsburgh. So I was a little bit bummed, you know. I was trying to figure out how I was going to end up back in Pittsburgh and all that sort of thing. And I get this package in the mail. I go to my P.O. box, and there's a frame. And I could tell it was a frame. It was wrapped in a brown paper, and it had B. Nardozzi on it. And I wasn't aware of who Billy was. I open it up, and it's this great poem. And it's about me, so it was really, really touching, and it meant a whole lot to me. And it actually proved to me how great the people of Pittsburgh are. I had a couple things happen to me that proved to me how great the people of Pittsburgh are. They had a benefit for my wife and I when we had the accident. And because we had we lost health insurance and all this stuff happened to us. And I tell you what, it's just amazing how kind people are. And this area has produced just a great bunch of people. I don't know what's in the water here in Pittsburgh, but just a bunch of great people. It's a great place.
Before we went to the news earlier, Tony, you were talking about the great musicians in Pittsburgh. Some talented people here who've chosen to stay.
Yes.
Guys like
very much so.
Joe Grishecki.
Yeah.
You rattle off the names.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I mean, one of the people is obviously, for me, is my dad. My dad had chances to go and move and leave this town several times and did not. But we have tons, the B.E. Taylors and Donnie Iris and the Clarks and a bunch of people that you just never really hear so much about. I have some good friends.
Sputsy.
Sputsy is great. I love Sputsy.
Sputsy Sparacino, amazing musician.
Yeah, and he's from your stomping grounds.
He's from Menneson.
And he took guitar lessons when he was a youngster off my dad.
Yeah.
So Sputsy's wonderful. He's a great guy. He's a great singer. He's a great guy. I could go on all night. Sherry Richards is a good friend of mine. She's wonderful. And I don't want to leave anybody out. I feel really bad.
I know, it's hard.
So there's a bunch of the jazz musicians in town that are just incredible. When I was a kid, I was influenced by all these people. My dad, I had the Hyde brothers were babysitters when my dad needed them to babysit. I don't know if you ever heard of the Hydes.
No, we're going to let you tell that story when we get back. You're on with you're listening to News Radio 1020 KDKA. My guest is Tony Janflone. We'll be right back.
Every weeknight, you're with Johnna Pro on News Radio 1020 KDKA.
Oh my gosh, we're having so much fun. I wish we could do this for another 3 hours, but we're not allowed to do that because it's Dimitri's show from 9 until midnight. Dimitri live and dangerously local. He's got a lot of good topics tonight, including a discussion about how to make better use of Facebook and Twitter. My guest right now is the amazing Tony Janflone Jr. Hey, Tony, before we went to break, and I'm going to go right back to the phones, but some wonderful musicians in Pittsburgh who have a real connection with their audience. In addition to you, I'm going to turn your microphone on because that would help. I get that on button throws me every time. We were talking about the Granati brothers.
Oh yeah, I love those guys, man. I just love them. I mean, there's so many, and I don't want to leave anybody out. But Billy Price is another great. I used to go see Billy
down at that crazy place in McKees Rocks, that little dive. I
actually played some shows with Billy before the car accident. I played a few shows with Bill, and and I used to play with Kenny Blake. I just would like if I could mention the guys in my band now.
Yeah, you got to do that because Lou Trapp sent a note from Sewickley. He wants to know if George Perella is playing the drums.
George Pirelli is, and George Pirelli just moved back to town. And he's a bad dude. And he's a great guy. He actually has been on tour with Michael McDonald, Donna Summer. I mean, the guy just moved back from Nashville. He's played with all kinds of greats. He's going out with Bobby Caldwell. What You Won't Do for Love. You remember that song, Johnna?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so George is great.
Story of my life.
Joe Monroe's a keyboard player friend of mine, and we go back to playing with Kenny Blake. We did Kenny's first 2 CDs and did a bunch of traveling with him. And if people look on YouTube, they can see Joe and I playing on BET. Black Entertainment Television with Kenny Blake back in the 90s. There's a YouTube video of us doing that.
That's amazing.
So I have also Curtis Swift, who's on saxophone. He's just a great, dear friend. And so is our bassist, George Elliott. Those guys have been with me for many years, and I just love them. They're great people. So looking forward to it. Have a really good band and great bunch of people.
I'm almost embarrassed to ask this question because I should know the answer. Is Chismo still alive? Chismo Charles?
Chismo is, but
Chismo was
he's not been feeling real well.
Chismo was a big part of those Sundays over on the South Side.
I love Chismo.
He was.
He used to come to our shows, and we would play together all the time. Yeah. I mean, and talk
about an old time great. I mean, because Chismo came out of the 20s, the 30s, the 40s.
Oh, he's been around. When I was a kid, I used to sneak into a club that he used to play. I was about 15, and a friend of mine, Steve Treadle, who's a drummer, we would sneak in, and I remember sitting in and playing CC Rider with Chismo several times,
one of the great pleasures of my life is being on the South Side, listening to you, Chismo being there, him sitting in on a couple songs, but always coming over to the table, give me a hug, give me a kiss. I mean, he was phenomenal.
He's great.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Brandon in Sewickley. Hey, Brandon, you're on with Tony Janflone.
How you doing, Tony?
This is Brandon. Brandon is a cool guy. He's going to the Berkeley College of Music right now.
Ooh, la-ti-da.
Yeah, he was
what are you
a former
studying,
student
Brandon?
of mine.
I'm actually studying film scoring right now.
Fantastic.
Yep. He was a guitar student of mine and a great guy. Great. His family's great. What a tremendous family.
So you just called to say hi, Brandon?
Well, I just wanted to say hi and tell him we're going to come out on Sunday, and I'm going to see your dad to get some guitars fixed up for me before I head back to school.
That's awesome. He's the man for that. He's the man.
Yeah, he is. Well, I don't want to hold you guys up. Thanks for hearing from you. We'll see you on Sunday.
See you tomorrow.
All right. Hey, Brandon, thanks for calling in. I want to go to Nicole in Oakdale. Nicole, thanks for your patience.
Hey, hi, Tony. It's Nicole. How are you?
Oh, hi, Nicole. How are you? I'm good. I should say I'm wonderful. Thanks.
I'm so glad you guys are back. It is just excellent to have you back in Pittsburgh.
Oh, thank you so much.
And we're more than ecstatic to see you. Hoping to get down to the saloon tomorrow.
That'd be wonderful.
How long have you been a Tony fan, Nicole?
Oh my gosh, since I was 21. So 16 years?
Did you just run across him playing somewhere?
My mom actually ran across him playing somewhere, and then when I finally turned 21, she took me.
Oh, that's interesting.
I couldn't possibly be that old.
Thanks, Tony. And now we have next generation, so my boys have a good time. We played, went down to see Tony at the Carnegie Blues Festival. And, my boys actually enjoy going to see Tony and are more than excited that he's back in Pittsburgh.
Oh, well, Nicole, I'm glad you called in tonight. I love it. I love the fact that you're now on 3 generations of women, Tony.
Well, this happens. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
How old are you, Tony Janflone?
Oh, well, I got a birthday. I got a big one coming up in August.
50? 60?
It is. It's 50. No, 60. 50.
But you've
Hawaii
been
50.
But you've been playing since you were.
I've been playing since I was 9, and I started performing with my father when I was around 13. But before that, I played. We had a rock and roll band that played at the Washington Ice Skating Rink in Washington, PA.
Oh my God!
And we used to play every weekend pretty much, and it was great. We were called Andromeda, and we played the whole Kiss Alive album.
That's so 80s.
Yeah. Oh, it was awesome.
So 80s.
Andromeda. I was a kid. I saw the Andromeda Strain. Remember that movie?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Hey, I'm going to get to a couple more phone calls. If you'd like to say hi to Tony, welcome him back to Pittsburgh. 866-391-1020. Dollar Bank Instant Access at KDKARadio.com. Let me go to, I think you know this guy, Victor in Pittsburgh. Hey, Victor, welcome to KDKA.
Hey, brother.
Hey, Vic.
How's it going?
I love you. That's how it's going. That's my brother, Victor.
You too, man.
Yeah.
Hey, brother Victor, do you play too?
Yeah, I do. I do my own kind of thing, and yeah.
Victor writes. Victor writes a lot of great stuff. He plays keyboards and trumpet, and he writes a lot of. It's instrumental music, and yeah. I don't know how to label that, Vic. What do you think?
Kind of ambient.
Ambient. Well, but it's great stuff. It's great.
But you stole my thunder, man. I was going to ask you to line up with the band.
Oh. Well, there you go. You got it. There you go. They're a great bunch of guys.
All right. Hey, good to hear from
Love you, Vic.
Tony's brother, Victor. Let's go to, I think you probably know this lady, too, Judy in Pittsburgh. Hey, Judy, you're on with Tony.
Tony, it's Aunt Judy.
Hi, Aunt Judy.
I just called to say we'll all be down tomorrow night.
Oh, that's so great. That's so great. My Aunt Judy is such a sweet, wonderful person, just so you know.
And you are, too.
No. It's all you. You are.
We're all a musical family. You know that.
Aunt Judy, thanks for calling, and thanks for listening in. I love it. I hope all of the Tony Janflone fans become Johnna Pro radio fans.
They should, because Johnna Pro is way cool.
Johnna Pro is. I was way cool when I hired you the first time.
You were cool.
Even though I couldn't afford you.
You were way cool. Trust me. Anybody that hires me, I think's way cool.
That was one big. All I know is that contract was really expensive.
Oh, I remember. I don't seem to remember.
It was really expensive, and I remember that Kathy and I didn't give it to our treasurer until after the party.
Wow.
Because everybody had such a good time, I knew he wouldn't complain about what we paid.
Wow. Did you really do that?
Oh, yeah. And
Kathy T's great, by the way. She is great.
Kathy Tagano, man. Kathy's huge. Kathy's huge KDK radio fan.
Yeah, and let me tell you this. You know her cousin, Janet.
Yes.
if you get them in stereo, if you get them one on each side of you, they have the identical voice.
Yes,
okay?
they do.
It's not, so it's like stereo Tagano.
Yeah, stereo Tagano.
And they have the same delivery and everything else. So it's really wild.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to shoot through these calls really quickly.
Okay.
Bob in Seattle, you got 10 seconds.
Tony, how you doing, buddy?
Bob Sprung in Seattle. How are you?
Just great.
Great.
Just great.
Good to hear your voice.
You too, bud. I'm sorry I'm going to miss you tomorrow, but I will catch you the next 2 weekends while I'm in town.
Ah, wonderful, wonderful.
And
All right.
Sis from Florida should be up to see you.
Oh, great.
All right. Hey, Denise in O'Hara. Denise, you got 10 seconds.
Hey, Tony, so happy you're back in the Berg.
Hey, Denise. Denise, the nephew.
All right.
All right.
And Joe in Lincoln Place, you got 10 seconds.
Yeah, I grew up in Oakland. I got to work on Joe Vershecki's car. I'm an old guitar player. And he actually played on my album with Rick Wachowski at Studio L. And I just wondered if you had any tips on how to get my album out there.
I actually... The internet.
The internet's the way to go. Hey, quickly, give folks your website.
It's TonyJanfloneJr.com. That's TonyJan as Nancy, F as in Frank, LONEJR.com.
TonyJanfloneJr.com. He'll be returning to Pittsburgh South Side tomorrow night, Carson City Saloon, 5:45. Tony, thank you for joining us on News Radio 1020.
Thank you so much.
KDKA.